Salutations, Starshines, and welcome back to another Watch and Dissect, the only show where you watch a cryptid in the corner of a screen talk about a cartoon while various effects are going on. Honestly, you guys are insane. I did not expect the first video to actually get as much attention as it did. Because, like, whenever I do these, it's not meant to be, like, a serious kind of thing. It's meant to be, you know, just kind of fun. Oh, let's watch this and talk about it. Haha, there's an egg there. But honestly, you guys are insane, and you guys also mentioned a lot of very interesting points that honestly I didn't even think about. It's stuff like that I really like to do. Like, I really like discussing stuff with people, so I figure, you know, why not do another one? Now, I am gonna be going through the rest of the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scares show, and after that, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next because I don't have money. I'm not sure what I can use to watch, but I could possibly do like old web series that, you know, probably fell into obscurity, because I know I mentioned that in the previous one. But without further ado, let's talk about one of the channel's favorite topics.
Death.
And apparently this time the UI is showing, which is probably going to get annoying later. I can literally just expand this window and then, you know, just resize it. That way it's not as blurry. Sorry it took me that long to realize that. Let me just... Now the quality isn't suffering. You wouldn't steal a car. I've seen people memeing on that moment where he's just like, I'm a yellow pig, and honestly, I'm genuinely curious on if he just thought it would be funny to say that, or if he, in that moment, for some reason, his brain just strung words together and he just thought he was a pig. That happens to me a lot. Like, whenever I do commentary, sometimes it looks like that it was meant to sound like that as a joke, but the truth is, my brain is just not good. And I don't think we touched on this last time, but the books do demonstrate the lessons that we'll be having.
We have Mr. Briefcase right here.
Look how they massacred my boy! And alright, right off the bat, I kind of do want to talk about the decor in this room, because honestly, there's a lot of attention to detail to make it look like an actual room, like somebody lived there, because what a lot of series can suffer from, especially, if it's somebody with lower budget, a lot of rooms can suffer from looking empty or like nobody actually lives in there. Like from here you can see that there's a TV in the corner, and obviously we have the clock, we have the window, we also have some cactus. There's a lot of personality in this room to, you know, there's a lot of personality in this room, as well as callbacks to other previous episodes or incidents.
I'm dead. What?
Honestly, this is one of the best openings I've ever seen in my fucking life.
As far back as I can remember, I always knew I deserved to be dead.
What have you seen, my dear? You know, it's kind of ironic that the person that presumably was in the military doesn't seem to grasp exactly what death is, but more so Red. Why are you jealous, you edgy bastard?
I always knew I deserved to be dead.
I'm more the kind of guy that would be dead.
I just want to take a moment to appreciate the delivery of that line, because, like, you can hear the music as, Duck is speaking, and then Red, the way that he delivers, not only is the line funny if you really look at it, like, I'm the kind of guy that would be dead, but the fact that the music just stops, I love the delivery in this series. They really outdo themselves. Also, I see you, Malcolm Jr.
Oh, did that fall out of your right hand?
My man's literally just got rid of his entire circulatory system.
Laid an egg. Quick, make a wish.
Is that an egg?
I don't think that's an egg. I don't think that's... Hold on, go back. Why is Duck the most expressive one, and for what reason? He looks so confused and, like, low-key daunted as to, like, what the fuck he's witnessing.
Can you feel my heart?
Okay, this is not what I meant. How disturbing! What monstrosity will we be, witnessing today? I already don't like this guy. I don't know, just something about the fact that it's indicated that he has, like, jagged, sharp teeth, and, you know, the way that his eyes just kind of pop out of his head. Granted, a lot of the puppets do that, but, This is a coffin. This is a coffin. Okay? He's making such, like, general statements that, like, literally anyone would if they, like, try to start a conversation after something devastating happened. Like, let's say, a death, a murder, wait, that's, forgive me, that's practically the same thing. But honestly, I can already tell that this guy is not sincere whatsoever. Don't trust this coffin. Then again, I wouldn't trust anyone whose legs appear to be way shorter than the bottom half of their torso.
Now, which one of you's dead?
Oh, that would be...
Wait, don't tell me. I'm good at this. It's you, isn't it?
Now, I know last time I talked about one of the popular theories, and like, fucking, I'm not going to touch on that again, but I will say this, the fact that the coffin, you know, basically the teacher of death itself, thinks that it's Yellow Guy, I believe that is worth of speculation, which I'm pretty sure everyone and their grandmother agrees with that. He also seems to be the Azalbut, because a bunch of flies end up around him no matter where he goes. I'm sure there's a lot of disturbing imagery that people could make from that. I just thought that it would be like a really nice touch that they add that, because they could have gone without this scene, and what I'm trying to say is that if they try to go without this scene, then this extra detail would be lost, and it would kind of change the tone of the entire thing, which will kind of indicate that, yes, Duck is supposed to be dead, however, the point of the episode is that, you know, he's not really dead. So the fact that he makes a mistake right here, it's actually a very good thing to include with the scripts, considering the story that they're trying to tell. And honestly, I just thought it was a nice touch from a writer's standpoint.
Yeah, I bet you do, but I've only got...
Who sent you? I would like to know. I would like names, I'd like addresses, and a way to make a pipe bomb.
one down here.
It doesn't look
Oh, he
that
looks so
bad.
disappointed, and
There's
for
many
what?
ways to check if you don't believe me. You can do this. Whoop.
Oh, oh,
Doesn't that hurt?
oh,
Not that much.
this dude, this coffin just cut off a man's finger without even flinching. Mans didn't even hesitate. Jesus Christ, I hate coffins.
Can
Oh no, honey, no, oh,
You
oh, it's too late.
silly.
Oh.
This must be a very hard time for you.
My man's is just bleeding out on the chair, and you're just going on with your lesson saying just like, it must be a very hard time for you. No shit, bro. Yellow, blink twice if you need help. So not only do we get an idea that Red Guy would drown later, but I do feel like that this is a nice way to kind of show the fact that, you know, if you're looking for any specific details on these characters, it's not gonna be as clear-cut as, you know, they intended. I know one of the commenters of the previous video did mention that the change of the pin could be a giant middle finger to those who look at, like, very unimportant details, such as, like, the ages of the characters. But honestly, it would make a lot of sense considering the fact that usually when it comes to, like, actual details, it's very vague and it's usually not spelled out the way that people thought it was with the trailer. But also, I just like to point out that, it's the fish. The fish is still there. I wonder if fish o'clock is still a thing.
For what?
For the funeral, silly. Come on, we've got a lot of work to do.
The awkward silence afterwards. And Tony's just kind of staring off into space. Is he, like, seeing the end and the beginning at the same time? Bro, are you okay up there? I do like the extra details here, like the hair gel, as well as, like, you know, the pills. I feel like it was a nice touch. But also, how narcissistic is Duck that he has a tie with his own face? He's the best character, and he knows it. Okay, I know a lot of people talk about, like, how daunting this was, and, like, honestly, I'm just surprised that everyone looked at this, and every single time that they draw a Red Guy, they just draw some pretty mouth and whatnot, which honestly, to me, I like this mouth. It's very... It's different. It's very different, and I actually really like it. But also, I just like to point out that this does kind of show that, you know, Red Guy has a turtleneck of some sort. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but he's a dashing young lad. It's very dashing. I also just like to point out that the ball here kind of changes into a skull later, at the end of some of the lines.
Kitchen sink.
First you heat up the margarine.
Make sure you're using fresh minced.
Where did you get the beef, Red? Red. How many times is this gonna happen? How many lives are we going to lose for the sake of beef? What have you done? Rat egg. For the pie, there is a listing for rat egg. What kind of Great Depression recipe is this?
My insides removed.
Hey, no talk.
Lovely! Thank you for sharing. Please don't say that ever again. Actually, hold on. Okay, so I actually looked it up, and it turns out that if there is a mistake on a gravestone, you must submit proof of the error to get approval for a replacement stone, which means that they will even do in so kind. They will even do so in kind, meaning the new stone will have the same type, style, and inscriptions as the original. But also, another thing here is that, like, there's something here saying, can a headstone engraving be changed? And it says, legally speaking, the only person who has authority to order a change on a grave marker is the executor named in the deceased will. This is true. Courts have held even in cases in which the executor did not buy the grave marker originally or contract the engraving to be done. But as for fixing engraving, there actually is a way to fix it, and it's like by engraving over it, adding to the design, or erasing a small part of the design. Which I assume is by, you know, filling in with like liquid cement or something. But yes, tombstone mistakes have happened, and there are ways to fix it as well as ways to change it. So that was your lesson for today. A lot less diamonds than the previous one, but I'm pretty sure we are all eternally grateful. This coffin is hella unprofessional. You know, very rarely do we see little, items just pop in like that with an actual effect. Like, you can just kind of see it zoom in and out when it enters, and honestly, it just makes it funnier. I love that.
Now,
Such a heavenly tune. I love it.
It's actually really nice.
hey, wow, I didn't like.
How dare you speak to my boy like that? My boy's over here just playing the little, trumpet, you know, from the heart, mind you. He didn't even have to. He just wanted to. Even Red was interested and liked it. And you just go like, oh, hey now, I don't like that. Fuck you. Fuck your ceremony. I hope you get fired. Literally, you're made of wood. Oh god, the most generated corporate memorial that I've ever seen in my life. Ooh. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the room is noticeably darker and less saturated than before. Also, is it just me, or is there more images of Duck than before? I could be mistaken.
Actually, I don't know if he is going to come back. I think he just sort of stays in the hole.
Red seems to be the most tame around Yellow Guy when Duck isn't present, which honestly, it kind of makes sense considering how feral Duck has gotten. I feel like they all tend to rile each other up.
He stays in the hole now.
Oh, he just slouched a little bit. Oh, my boy. Oh, sorry, dude. That's a grade A bummer.
It's not that bad. We didn't really like him anyway. Remember how he used to bite you?
Yeah. Quite like
Stockholm Syndrome at its finest. Now, I'd like to say this. When it comes to Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared show, I believe that there's always that one episode that tends to resonate with a lot of people, and it's usually never the same one. Whether it be because of workplace, whether it be because of, like, you know, actually going to funerals and whatnot. But honestly, this episode kind of resonates with me a little bit more, and that's because... It's not because it deals with death. It's mostly because of the way that Yellow Guy responds to it. Because, I'm somebody who has been to, I think 2 funerals. One of them was for my grandfather, who was not religious, and the other one was my aunt, who was. Now, this sounds like it's not important, but trust me, it does. And I will explain to you how. So when my grandfather died, I didn't know a lot of people on that side of the family, to be honest. I just know the select few that just came and went at my grandma's house, and sometimes I didn't even know much about them to begin with. And, like, that side of the family wasn't really the best because, you know, when he died, their first reaction was not to share memories. No. They started getting at each other's throats over the will and how he wanted to be buried because a lot of the family was Christian and believed that his body should have been, you know, left intact. However, in my grandfather's actual will, he said that he wanted to be cremated. You know, it was in the will, and, like, honestly, this is not to bash religion, this is just people in general. If somebody has a specific wish when they die, just respect it. Unless it actually hurts somebody, just respect it. But moving on from that, I witnessed a lot of my family become basically strangers to me in that moment because a lot of them were acting like very selfish and whatnot. They actually started going after my mom because my mom was one of the more level-headed ones of all of them, and so she got first picked in the will, and so a lot of people just thought that, you know, she was stealing from it, but, like, truth was that it was in the will, and they were just trying to find something to be mad at. So by the time that the funeral came around, I remember that my dad had actually joined us in Ohio, and because, like, I'm not from Ohio, but, like, my grandparents were. And I remember sitting in, like, a row of, like, seats just outside. And then I just saw a bunch of people fill in, and, like, these people I practically didn't really know anymore because of how differently they were acting. And the fact that they acted really selfish and, like, in fact, one of them actually came up to me like, I wish I was like you, that my eyes didn't get red when I cried, and, like, first of all, what the fuck am I supposed to say to that? But it feels like how this scene feels. You know, just kind of, like, out of place, just kind of standing off to the side, very confused, and, like, there were a lot of words that the people were exchanging. Like, I get that they were trying to be happy and whatnot, but, like, truth was, a lot of the stories just felt very empty and, like, almost fabricated at times. Especially because of, like, how people were acting, I just kind of had a different view on them. And, like, the only real person I saw was actually my grandfather's best friend, who I believe he was, like, in the army with him. Because, like, yes, my grandfather was in the army, which is also probably another reason why that this kind of resonates with me. And I watched his best friend just kind of break down at the pedestal. And, like, here's the thing with, like, some military, funerals, these, people in their uniforms, they just kind of line up parallel of each other from left to right. And they don't really do anything, they don't really get phased that much, they just kind of stand there. And, like, everyone else was kind of looking away, and, like, nobody bothered to go up to him after this. And, like, being too young at the time to know what to do, all I could do was just kind of stare at him, and, like, honestly, he was the only genuine person that was at that funeral that I could remember, aside from my own family. So that's why that this scene kind of resonates with me, because, like, imagine, like, just standing there, just surrounded by people who just look vaguely alike, and they all seem to be grieving, but not for particularly who the person was. In fact, there are people who go to funerals for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to ignore that either. And now for the second funeral I was in, it felt less genuine because of the person who was doing the service. Now, I don't know why, it just kind of irks me when, like, the pastor, I believe that's what they call him, was just kind of like, he was just saying a lot of stuff, and, like, it was hard for me to wrap my head around it because it wasn't stuff that, like, my aunt actually said, obviously, because, you know, she was dying. That was not what she was thinking. And, like, he didn't even bother to, like, address the family at all, which felt wrong. He wasn't really emotionally there, which I don't really blame him because, you know, it's his job, but, like, he didn't even get involved at all. He didn't really seem to make things easier or harder for the kids in the area. And I believe that was the first time that I've ever seen a I've ever seen, like, a body that was, you know, dead and restored to kind of look quote-unquote alive. And I was curious because a lot of people would always say that, you know, people look peaceful when they're dead. I fucking looked at my aunt in that casket and, like, I don't know about you, but there's nothing peaceful about somebody just laying there stiff with their fucking face pale and their mouth just devoid of any sort of, like, feeling. Because, like, you could see where, like, the cosmetologist worked on it, which I know is supposed to make it look alive, but because you know that it's dead, you start to notice the small details, and it just becomes all the more uncanny. But yeah, those were my experience at funerals, and, like, especially at my aunt's funeral, it just kind of felt like I was just kind of standing there amongst a lot of strangers who just looked the same, and just honestly asked a lot of the questions that yellow guy does in this one. Basically, you know, like, who are you? Wait, he didn't do that, you know, what's happening, things like that. So that's why this episode in particular sticks out with me, because it kind of does, like, feel like that at funerals sometimes. Anyways, back to death. That's the most exaggerated feeling of remorse I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I beg your finest, most authentic pardon, but is that little lamp right there sober? Is he sober? Is he sober? Because I don't know about you, last time I saw this guy, I remember him being all like... But honestly, it's a nice change. It's a nice change.
We live our lives, but as a performance for a new super race known as the Council. And every time you get it right, you get a pound.
He just confused my boy even more.
No, I don't like him. I don't like any of them.
My poor guy. I feel so bad for him. And this is one of the few times that we actually see him emote, like, by a wide range. I feel so bad for my boy.
Huh? That's not him. Hey, hold on, stop it. No, that's not him.
The sheer despair that my boy is in, it's entertaining, but I feel so bad for laughing. And back into the depths. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Mr. Clock Guy, you don't look too good. Things from the past went into a mystery. One of his eyes is off-center. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't be focusing on that, but like... I'm too easily amused.
Just checking it still works.
Still works.
What if I need the toilet?
You're leaving a man alone with a button with no stimulation. What do you think is gonna happen?
Let's listen to some music.
Where did you get
Oh, hell yeah.
I made it myself.
Sick tunes.
On the computer.
Yeah. I like to point out that this is one of the most tragic characters in the series. And let me explain why. Because, I mean, this thing was just born, ready to be molded by the world and have, like, adventure and whatnot, and, you know, be their own person. But as we find out in the series, in this episode, all Red wants to do is mold them into basically who Duck was, to the point where this person is not even themselves anymore, whoever themselves could have been, and then just fucking dies. The way that this episode is going, it looks like it's gonna be something that's, it looks like it's gonna be something hopeful, but then it just gets shut down. What is this? This animation is crazy. Bro. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my god. That segment was the coolest shit I've ever seen. I absolutely love the little animation style changes in this series. I know I'm a nerd, but oh my god, I love it.
We don't talk about that.
I feel so bad for my boy. I know I've said it several times, but I genuinely feel bad. You know, I like to think that the reason Duck would say the window's disrespecting him is that, like, if you pay attention to where the window is, as well as, you know, where the seat is, it just so happens that the bottom of the rays would land right on his eyes. And honestly, same, like, I hate the sun. I don't like the way it feels on my skin. I burn within 20 minutes. I still have a sunburn from, like, summer. It's still there. I should get it checked out. but it's still there. So honestly, I'm with Duck on this one. So like, I understand completely why he'd say that the windows disrespect him, but at the same time, just get Red to close the curtains. And also, I'd like to point out, why is everything positioned so that only Red can reach them in most cases? Because if you think about it, the windows are way too high than they need to be.
This is how I look.
Okay.
The poor thing is so confused. It sounds so hurt.
I don't have to put up with this.
But I'm dead.
Yes, and you're terrible at it. You're on your own now. If you want to do something, just lie here.
You know what they say, he who works at the morgue never stays in contact with their clients. All these memories are like not good. It just further drives home the point that basically they're just stuck with each other. They don't actually like each other.
Why I couldn't join the military.
Jesus Christ. I love you, but Jesus. The cinematography is like beautiful in this one. Oh my god.
I really feel like he used to have a beak.
Red, please see a psychologist. Please, look at what's happening here. This is so pretty! Oh, this took a turn. You know, there's a dark undertone for like if Duck actually was dead. This entire thing would have still played through, which means that he likely would have dug up Duck's corpse and just like hauled it around all day until it just broke apart naturally. I'm probably the only person who thought about that, but it makes sense considering that he probably would have reacted the same way if, like, he actually was dead. So, there's that image in your head. I like to say that the usage of color and contrast strikes once again because, you know, this scene, if it was just the normal, like, bright and colorful, it wouldn't have the same tone as it does, and I like how it steadily gets darker and darker until we eventually get to this scene where all the colors are essentially very desaturated and with, like, a blue hue, giving it kind of an ominous tune, which I really like that. I really like that touch. You deserve that. I don't give a fuck. You deserve that. I like how Red never fails to just try and act like he was doing something that he was supposed to. It's happened twice in a row now. Wait, is the other model the older Duck model? Because I feel like there's some changes. I've heard this audio everywhere. You must shake him by the hand. Episode 2 definitely started on a different tone than, you know, the other episode. The other episode was more of a gradual shift to kind of like readjust you to the theme of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And also any potential newcomers that might be unfamiliar with how things are run around here, basically. The second one was basically to get back on track, where we started with the tone, starting on a very terrifying note right off the bat. And even then, it's not like it stays that tone for the entirety of, you know, the episode. With a lot of horror series, they usually have to try to keep you invested in the horror. However, the way that it kind of shifts between horror to comedy to mellow, it all comes together very nicely and keeps you very interested whilst not really exhausting you from the horror element. So when the horror elements do come back, it not only is it noticeable, but you begin to appreciate a little bit more. You can't appreciate something that happens throughout the entire duration because you've seen it before for, you know, the entire time that the episode has ran. The use of camera work and lighting was absolutely phenomenal in this one, as well as the animation style changes with the claymation. Then again, I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one.